Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the Valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman, see Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking, and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R CatCast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R CatCast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. I'm joined with my other host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and we have a dang sponsor, sweet sponsor, with Manhattan Bank, taking care of all your banking needs in the Gallatin Valley, I should say. 4 locations: Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, Three Forks. Check out Manhattan Bank for all your banking needs. Thorny, we're here to do just kind of like an instant reaction show. It's a little late. We didn't get to do it Saturday night, but we're going to recap what went around the Big Sky in week 10. And then we're going to just cover the Cal Poly game because really it's Cat Grizz week, man. And so we're going to have some content coming up. We thought we'd get this one out of the way so we can start focusing our efforts on Montana State going forward.
Yeah, we'll kind of format this kind of how we do a combination of how we normally do it and an instant reaction style. Keep it short because, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about in this game in reality. And that way, yeah, kind of get it out of the way so we can release an episode or two this week all about Cat Grizz.
Cat Grizz. All right.
Hey, before we get anything else, I want a huge shout out to everyone who's purchased a sweepstakes ticket to the SRO ticket sweepstakes that we put out in support of the Gallatin Valley Food Bank. It's currently at $825 raised with 2.5 hours to go. By the time this is released, it will be cut off, I'm sure. But, you know, huge kudos to everyone for doing that. That's a really cool thing. And it feels good to give back to the community and, use our platform to do a little bit of good. So it was a fun thing all around, and I'm glad everyone participated, and we got it up to, almost $1,000. Pretty awesome.
When does that close again?
2.5 hours, midnight Pacific time.
Man, when we were talking about this last week, I thought we'd get like $200, $300 maybe.
I was hoping for 800, yeah.
$900. Holy smokes. It's remarkable. So yeah. I think that's awesome because it's all going to the food bank. That's huge. Well done.
And the drawing will be Thursday morning. There is a requirement. We have to wait 3 full business days after the closing of the sales before we can draw someone, which allows the company to collect mail-in ballots, certain ballots, election on the mind, I guess, mail-in entries. There we go. So we were not allowed to do it until like early Thursday. I'll try and do it as early as I can. I think I said 8, but sooner the better, I'm sure. But yeah.
All right.
And then the other big news, let's talk about it, man. Game day is coming to Bozeman. How awesome is that? I didn't think it was going to happen. The Big Sky was pushing it out. Montana State was pushing it out, this whole big little social media push. I'm like, I didn't have really any high hopes for it. I'm retweeting it because it's kind of what you do as a fan podcast with a social media account, but I'm just kind of, oh, cool, yeah, whatever. That's fun. Maybe we'll get some publicity just from doing this push alone, but I didn't think it'd actually come to Bozeman, so that is awesome.
It is really awesome. I'm shocked. I thought, last year they were going to go to Missoula. That was more likely to me. But
same.
Seeing they're coming to Bozeman, that's huge. My question is, where are they going to set up?
I was wondering that downtown maybe would be cool. That's kind of what they did when they went to Fargo from North Dakota State. They were kind of just downtown, and people were just like hanging off the rafters. It was just jam packed the entire downtown Fargo. I don't know. It's a great question. I'm more concerned, like,
I
where are they
think
going
they
to
should do
stay at? Where's that entire crew going to find a hotel?
Good point. I think they should put it right in Montana Hall, right there in the middle of the mall, right on the
Yeah.
middle of campus.
That'd be cool too.
Right, that big grassy area right in front of Montana Hall.
Yeah, I got a few good choices. So
Yeah.
I have very much enjoyed how salty Grizz fans are about game day choosing Bozeman. Been kind of just enjoying that all day. They are very salty about it, and I can't necessarily blame them, but it doesn't make it any less sweet for me. Oh man, so much agony about that. So if you're on Twitter, it's a good time. had to throw it out there.
Yeah, well, yeah, all right. Yeah, I've gone off Twitter, and so I'm not seeing it in
Oh, yeah.
full view like you are. Actually, my aunt texted me. She's like, the vitriol is just already at a peak, and
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy week. It's gonna be a crazy week.
Cat Grizz, the longest week of the year, man.
It's gonna be extra long with
Hate
knowing
it or
game
love it.
day. It's coming to Bozeman. So
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's go around the Big Sky, talk about week 10, because there's some stuff shaping up that we will chitter chatter about, and then we'll get into Montana State Cal Poly. How about that?
sounds fantastic.
All right. I'll start at the bottom, looking at just, this is off ESPN. UC Davis beat Idaho in a game I was kind of surprised about, 44-26 down in the Kibbe Dome. Idaho looked a little bit lackluster, and UC Davis is continuing their tear through the Big Sky after we beat them. They're now 6-4, 5-2 in the Big Sky. They're going to play the Causeway Classic next week against Sac State, and if they win that, they're going to be 7-4, and they're going to put themselves into playoffs. That is an interesting scenario. Idaho would also be probably 7-4 because I think Idaho has Idaho State coming up, if I'm not mistaken.
They do,
So
yep.
I'm assuming Idaho State wins that game. It's probably in Pocatello, but nonetheless, I think Idaho State wins that game. Couple 7-4 teams possibly, but UC Davis probably playing the hottest hand right now in the Big Sky. If I had to do just like a hot hand ranking, I think UC Davis would be on the top of my list.
I think it was maybe after us, they beat NAU and then Northern Colorado. It was either after NAU or Northern Colorado. I started to realize what could potentially happen if UC Davis won out, and I've been rooting for it this entire time. And just look at this: NAU 56-27, Northern Colorado 58-10, Cal Poly 59-17, Idaho State 43-3, and now Idaho 44-26. Their lowest output was 43. In that stretch that they're on, they're on an absolute tear right now.
Yeah,
They got something figured out.
They're a wrecking ball just swinging right through the middle of the Big Sky right now.
I think they have a legitimate chance to beat Sac State next weekend.
Absolutely, they do. That's going to be a good game.
It's gonna be a good game, Causeway Classic.
Great game.
And there's also some Sacramento State fans who were kind of irritated that the Big Sky Conference was pushing out Bozeman and not Sac State. Like, hey, we're the undefeated team in the country. It's like, it's more about the story. There's no story in Sacramento, buddy. I'm sorry. You're a good team. That's cool.
I get it. I get it. Anyways, I'm rooting for UC Davis, obviously, because, if Sac loses and we lose, let's just say, just putting that out there, then we share the Big Sky title.
True.
Or if they lose, we win it outright. And so let's go Davis. Let's go Aggies.
And if UC Davis wins and we win, the Grizz are probably sitting home.
Yeah.
So lots of important stuff in this discussion here. Moving on down to Weber State. Took care of Idaho State in Ogden, 45-17. Not much to say about that one. Just allowed 7 points from Idaho State, and Idaho State is bad. And that's all there really is to take away from that one.
Yeah, they're still bad down in Idaho State, especially after Charlie Regal just basically lambasted his own team. Not a good look. I understand the frustration, but there are some things you just don't put out in public. Ooh, hey, man, not a good look over there.
I'm not too upset that we did not hire Charlie Regal.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Nice. Dodge that one. Okay. Over in Missoula, Montana is beating up on another lackluster Eastern Washington team, 63-7. Montana, I was looking at their schedule today, Thorny. They do this seemingly every year with Coach Houck. Is they kind of go on this hot streak in November, but then they kind of fizzle out. They beat Cal Poly 57-0, and then they beat Eastern Washington, both at the big stadium over in Missoula, 63-7. Eastern Washington's completely given up. At least they look like they've completely given up. And Gunnar Talkington got knocked out of that game. It's just bad news bears, but kind of notable things. I mean, we'll get into all the Grizz stuff. Lucas Johnson, their quarterback, was back and then he got hurt. I don't know. There's some people online saying that it's just Bobby Houck playing the Cats, that he's on the sideline in crutches. It's
trick.
It's all, smoke and mirrors at this point. Who cares? We are really worried about that. But anyways, Grizzlies take care of Eastern Washington. It's just a shame because I thought Eastern had a little bit more pride than that, but I think they're done.
No, man, it's really weird to see teams are just kind of giving up this year. Like the dichotomy between the teams that are still fighting and the teams that are just like out of the hunt are like just, it's crazy. You're just getting all these just completely lopsided scores. Maybe it's not as bad as other years, but it seems worse than it has been. The data might not back that up, but
another thing that's like kind of stands out to me from it is like you can't really take much from these games. Like you try to analyze a team like Montana State versus Cal Poly and then Montana versus Eastern Washington. You're trying to find things like, hey, are we improving here and there? It's tough to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what to take away from that Grizz game either, except that Eastern Washington has completely given up. And kudos to the Grizz. Like it's not, I don't care who you're playing. You're playing conference Division I foes. They scored like 120 straight points before giving up a score. Like that's an impressive run no matter how you slice it. So the Grizz are coming in the Cat Grizz hot. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. They play good with momentum. That's for sure.
And the Cats play good with seizing momentum and then giving away momentum. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting concept. All right. Moving on to the pillow fight of the week. We got Northern Colorado taking down NAU 21-20, which is making the Lumberjacks almost win against the Bobcats look really bad. But it is what it is. The Bobcats won the game. Who cares? Northern Colorado comes out ahead. They score a last-second touchdown and go for 2-point conversion and get it and win the game 21-20 in Greeley. Now both NAU and Northern Colorado sitting at 3-7 and 2-5 in the Big Sky. NAU squandering that delicious schedule.
Gosh, man, the Big Sky is just interesting.
Yeah.
Let's pull up some standings real quick. Trying to get standings. Let's see here.
What are you trying to look at?
Nope. Oh, there we go. So Cal Poly overall is 1-9, 0-7 in the conference. As we're going to talk about Cal Poly here in a moment. Idaho State is 1-6, 1-9 in the conference. Eastern Washington is 1-6, or 1-6 in the conference, 2-8 overall. I've been saying that backwards. Sorry. Northern Arizona is 2-5 in the conference, 3-7 in overall. Northern Colorado 2-5, 3-7, and Portland State is 3-4 in the conference and 4-6 overall. The next team ahead of them is Montana, who's 4-3 in the conference and 7-3 overall. But the bottom half of the league is just terrible. Absolutely garbage.
No, it's really bad. Like this might be the worst bottom half of the conference I can remember in a while. This complete like usually there's a team that can spoil an upset, and I guess NAU almost did that to us, but honestly, it's like there's no threat from that bottom group to that top group at all. Which is just kind of different than it has been in other years. Maybe the top is just that much better. I don't know. I don't know how to take it.
Did you predict Eastern and Idaho essentially flip-flopping places within the conference this year?
I don't remember. I don't have my thing in front of me, but I did not pick Eastern to finish 2-8. Guarantee that. I think I had them with the winning record.
Yeah. I wonder where they go moving forward. I mean, Gunnar Talkington is going to move on. This is his last year. I know some of my colleagues at my school I teach, they're Eastern grads. They're not wanting Aaron Best around any longer. They're like, let's fire him. I'm like, I don't know if you guys got the money to fire him. And I think he deserves at least one more year. The stretch of unbelievable quarterback play has ended at Eastern Washington. I don't know if they got anybody waiting in the wings. It's going to be kind of interesting going forward with them.
For sure. Yeah, you can't fire a guy after one bad year, but that was a bad year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into Montana State, Cal Poly.
Well, let's finish off our around the Big Sky, man.
Oh, is there another one?
Yeah. It was your turn, so I just let you have it, but you skipped right over it.
Oh. Sure did. What is it? Help me out.
Sac State, man. Sac State beat Portland State 45-17 on Friday because, and this was planned out in July, the Oregon playoffs were going to take place at Hillsboro Stadium on Saturday, therefore bumping Portland State, the Division I football program, out of their rented stadium to Friday night, which is normally a high school night. So yes, Sac State goes down to Portland, up to Portland, and takes care of business 45-17. Lets Portland State score a couple touchdowns late, it looks like, but that game was never in doubt. Sac State cruising 10-0, 7-0. Good chance. They're feeling a good chance. They're going to go undefeated, which is pretty rare, and they had an FBS team on their schedule. So that'd be an incredible regular season for Troy Taylor and the Sac State Hornets if they were able to go undefeated here.
Do you think Troy Taylor stays at Sac State?
I kind of feel like he does. His name doesn't pop up in any of the random coaching carousel things you hear about, but maybe we just don't hear about that because no one covers Sac State. So I don't know, but it seems like he's a little bit older. I think, right? He probably gets paid a lot of money at Sac State comparatively to the rest of the Big Sky. I mean, he's in California, so I don't know. Pretty crazy staff he's got there.
Which coaching staff, which head coach do you think is most ready to move up to the FBS?
It's a good question. I mean, probably the most ready is probably Dan Hawkins, right? Just because he has done it. That or Bobby Hauck.
Well, we both know Bobby Hauck's not going anywhere.
No, he's not. You're asking me who's ready. I'm not saying like who's most likely. Either that, yeah. It's it's between like Dan Hawkins, Bobby Hauck, Brent Vegan, and Troy Taylor, probably.
Yeah.
No one else is even.
I was thinking Coach Vegan, but
yeah, he would be right in that
my guess.
Conversation too. But hard to say. That's a whole different podcast, my friend.
Yeah. All right. You're right. I did not see that Sac State Portland State game. It was hidden just above Montana State Cal Poly, and good call there, Thorny.
Scroll up.
All right, let's get into the beatdown down in San Luis Obispo.
Oh man, this game 72-28, and I admittedly before I get into the stats here, I did not watch this game. Had a thing with my daughter last night. I wasn't able to watch, and I haven't had any time today to watch it. I did watch the highlight package on YouTube to see the big points there. So what I'm getting at is it really true that the last score of the game for the Bobcats was 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Let's go look at the things here.
Yeah, I think
at 10-10.
So. We're about ready to score.
So 72 points in 3.2 quarters. It's absurd. All right, well, let's go through the absurdity that was this game. 72-28, the Bobcats pile up 30 first downs, 21 for Cal Poly. Cats, an amazing 11 of 14 on third down. Cal Poly just 4 of 12. 744 yards of total offense for the Bobcats, 554 on the ground, which is a program record by nearly 100 yards. 190 yards through the air for the Bobcats. I think probably most of that was Sean Austin. Cal Poly was able to muster up 408 yards of total offense, just 91 yards on the ground, but 317 through the air, with one interception, which was picked off by Callahan O'Reilly. Pretty low penalty game, three penalties on the Cats for 35 yards, 4 penalties for Cal Poly for 60 yards. The 2 turnovers there by Cal Poly, the fumble that they lost, and then the interception. And then the one fumble by, I believe it was Tavian Williams late in the game, kind of a botched handoff from Sean Austin, and the ball just kind of shot straight into the pile. Cats, even scoring 72 points, still maintain the time of possession over 33 minutes in this one. So there you go. There is the absolute ridiculous stats, 744 yards of total offense. Was that any sort of record there, fully?
That I'm not sure of.
I know the rushing was.
I think it's our
yards,
season high.
It's got to be close.
Yeah. We had 0 punts. We made Sac State punt 6 times for 247 yards. Let's get into some of the ridiculousness that you were alluding to. Marquis Johnson.
Oh, man.
Let's just lead off with this guy. Marquis had 4 touchdowns. He scored from 12 yards, 71 yards, 36 yards, and 78 yards. In the first half alone, we had 357 yards on the ground and 437 total. I made a bold prediction. I said, quote, and I quote myself, "We're going to get 400 yards rushing easy." That's what I said last. Do you remember that?
I do not, but I will take your word for it. You nailed it.
And I was like, whoa, 400 is a lot. I was like, I went back and I was listening. I was like, we almost had that by by halftime. That was crazy. Marquis Johnson had himself a banner day. It's crazy. I mean, he's a converted wide receiver to running back, probably our 6th string running back. We were playing him probably to keep Elijah Elliott fresh because Elijah Elliott was limping on the sideline. Marquis carried the ball 13 times for 249 yards, 4 touchdowns. I was watching his post-game interview on YouTube for the 406 Montana channel, and they talked about it. He was giving all his great answers. Like, he's like, "Oh man, I can't believe I did it. It was kind of weird, actually. I had scored 4 touchdowns." But the one thing I thought was interesting was they asked him about the Cat Grizz game, and he goes, "I'm nervous for it. I gotta get prayed up." I was like, you never hear a player say, "I'm nervous for it." He's like, it's one of them games, man. I gotta get prayed up. He goes, "But I think I'll be all right."
I mean, then you gotta love the honesty. If anyone says they're not nervous, they're lying about that, especially first-time players anyway.
Yeah.
So
I just thought it was refreshing, actually.
Yeah. No, I
okay.
agree with that.
Let's get back into some players. Tommy Malott, man, 7 for 17, 80 yards. Woo, wolf.
At one point, I think he was 2 for 10.
Yeah. He had 4 rushes for 68 yards. Let's just talk about his passing real quick before we move on to some other players. It was bad. I mean, we were trying to force feed first down passes again, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but Tommy was sailing everything high. Every pass he had seemed just not good. They did have a couple drop balls. I remember one coming from Robbie Alston, hit him right in the hands on a 3rd down, on 3rd and long. And Ryan, that's another thing I would say about this. Like, there's stats don't show this, but we were in 3rd and long quite a bit because we were trying all these passes on first down and we weren't hitting them. And then we would, I don't know what we would do on 2nd, but 2nd and long, 3rd and long, we had quite a few of those. And then we would just hand it off to Marquis, and Marquis would hit inside zone and just dash. It was just like nobody was going to tackle him. But man, Tommy did not have a good game passing. I know Coach Vigen wanted to work on the passing. That was the emphasis coming into this game, and it did not look good. Like, straight up was kind of bad.
I mean, he was sailing them at Northern Arizona too. So maybe there's some sort of mechanics or footwork type thing that's kind of going on here in the last couple of weeks that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, 7 for 17, 80 yards. It was, whew.
But he continues to make He continues to make good decisions in the RPO game and just doesn't turn the ball over. So I mean, he's doing a lot of positive things, and he's still he's still the guy you want under center. I think, especially like he had that game-winning throw against Northern Arizona. That was a Golden Cooley question that we had, and I was meaning to get back to it. Someone asked us, like, who would you rather have in a game-winning drive situation? Was it Sean Chambers or Tommy Willott. I don't think either one of us really had a good answer for that, but I think Tommy Willott proved that he can be that guy. But it's got to improve if we're going to make a push into the playoffs. We're going to beat the Grizz. He's got to be better than 7 for 17 and 80 yards. Because Marquis Johnson is not going to run for 242 yards ever again.
Fade balls too. We continue to struggle with the fade, and it's like our route trees. We feel like a broken, stinking record at this point. Our routes that we run are not imaginable. They're just like what we're doing. I'm going to step off. All right. We won the game 72-28. Cal Poly was terrible. But yeah, that's not going to win a big time game if we're playing South Dakota State going into the semifinals. Got to get that fixed, guys. Let's go. Okay. Moving on. Garrett Kuhn had a 100-yard day. He had 102 yards on 13 carries. He had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. Good for him. Elijah Elliott had 94 yards on 7 carries. He did not get into the end zone. He had a long of 49 yards, though. He got a big play that set up another touchdown. Tavian Williams had 10 carries. Amandre Williams' brother. He was that guy at the very end, 40 yards. Sean Austin had... he had 110 yards of passing, 2 touchdowns with a long of 53. And that was mainly Cleveland Thomas, who came back. There's a name you would be happy to hear. Cleveland made a nice little move in space and got himself all the way down to the 2-yard line. Looked about like he was about to get in, but did not hit pay dirt right there. And Sean Austin had 3 rushes for 6 yards. He actually had a touchdown. So one thing you said in the opening that we had we didn't score in the last 10 minutes. Well, Sean Austin actually did score. Devin Slaughter just was like completely pummeled this dude. Just like completely blocked him down again and get up. And he got called for a block in the back because he was just demolishing this guy into the ground. It was so good. I was like, come on, are you serious? Like this guy would get up and Devin would be like, boom, just knock him straight to the ground. And even Ty Gregorak goes, that's a lousy call. And so Sean Austin got his touchdown got called back. So
man,
we would have had 79 points right there if that wasn't called back. And I thought that was a pretty crappy call, to be honest with you. Let's see. Cleveland Thomas, he had 3 catches, 73 yards. With that long of 73, Derek Snell had a big boy touchdown that nobody touched him on. Straight from the one. We brought in the big package and like they didn't even need it. Like Snell just took the handoff and just jogged right in. It was embarrassing for Cal Poly, to be honest with you. And I want to give some big props to Garrigan. Help me out. Aiden Garrigan caught his first touchdown. Yeah. He had a touch, and Malik Mullins had 2 catches. So some guys you don't see. Kenneth Iden had a sack on a forced fumble. We had a scoop and score for the first time. Like freaking ever. We had a scoop and score.
Last time we had a defensive touchdown, period. Is that our first of the season?
Yeah, Callahan O'Reilly had 1 interception. Do you know Callahan O'Reilly's 3rd in the Big Sky right now?
Yeah.
For interceptions with 4. That's sneaky. Let's see here. And Ben Seymour had a fumble return for 26 yards and a touchdown. Good to see that. And Stones Glessner, man. Props. Attaboy Stones, 3 for 3. 46 yards, 31 yards, and 32 yards, and he was 9 for 9 on PATs.
Oh, man.
There are your stats. Woo.
This is like a...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, sorry, just real quick. Before I end the stats right there, Spencer Brash, 24 for 34. Comfortably, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, winner interception. They did have a guy go over 100 yards in receiving, 9 catches. Josh Levens, I can't read my own. Cuevas, that's not even Levens. That's not even close to Levens. No, anyways, 9 catches for 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Coleman, who has been on fire, only had 3 catches for 31. There it is. I'm done.
Yeah, that was too many stats for this game. Too much talking about that. This game is like the Dakota Prukop era Bobcats right here. This is like the Tim Cranzy offense. Scoring
Yeah.
72 points. Now the defense is better than it was.
Different. Prukop did it in the air. We're doing it on the ground.
I know it is different. It's crazy. It's just as explosive. It is just as explosive.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you. You texted me that you thought that the starting defensive unit played better. I think those were your words. Kind of. What do you see from the defense, in particular the starters?
Yeah, well, I thought we had better depth in our routes and our zone coverage, especially with Callahan. He broke up, I think, 2 passes before he got that interception that we weren't hitting against RJ Martinez. And I don't feel like we got hit as much on the big play with our first half players. We tackled well on things that were going to the boundary. And I just thought overall our defense, our starters at least looked a little better. Cal Poly came out with some trickery and did the whole tricking down as they continue to hit some plays on their first touchdown, and they were able to move the ball, a couple times. They had one nice pass I could think of on 3rd and long, but for the most part, I thought Montana State did pretty good until we started subbing some players. Then we got into the second half, and then our secondary looked kind of porous again, and we allowed a lot of that chunk yardage in the very end, but we're playing second and third teamers. But they're still Division I players. Like Coach Ty Gregorak said, you need to go out there and perform, execute. So still a little bit kind of concerned with the secondary, but I don't know. Coming in, we were kind of concerned with Spencer Brash and the Cal Poly passing attack, and I thought Montana State did it fairly well.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I was listening to the radio and I was watching the highlights. I mean, they had some bigger chunk plays, some passes where there was just guys streaking wide open again. They just, did a better job, I guess, keeping things completely in front of us instead of letting them catch it and then also run around you. The tackling did look better. So these are positive things as you move forward into the playoffs here. Still a concern, but as we've talked about, the defense just kind of is who they are at this point. It is what it is. You just got to work with what you got and, continue to make any improvements you can and keep that in mind as you roll out your offensive game plan.
Yeah. I don't think Montana State's going to be a stellar defensive team, but if we could play complementary ball, that's the thing I think Montana State needs to shoot for. Coach Vegan in his presser afterwards says, we haven't hit our mark yet. I think Alex Eshelman asked that question. She's like, what is that mark? And Vegan was like, that's when we play a complete game. Think like Sam Houston State last year, or there was another game that comes to mind, 2019 Cat Grizz. There it is.
There you go.
Like when everything is clicking together. But I mean, under Coach Vegan, like that Sam Houston State seems to be like that watermark where everything was just like almost perfect. I thought UC Davis was our most complete game we've played this year against an opponent that was of some sort of consequence. Take out the first couple of weeks when we were playing the Cream Puffs.
Sure.
Montana State needs to hit that stride. I think we were close to that. Our special teams is looking a lot better.
Yes.
Offense is looking good. Outside of our passing game, it'll be interesting to see when we get Sean Chambers back, how that looks. And I think Sean Chambers back will be, for Cat Grizz. Man, can our defense play inspired? I don't know.
That's the big question. Well,
defense feels like it's a C grade this year, right? Like not like maybe a C minus, but it's never been like A minus, A plus for me, but we've hit B's in there, but I don't know. We're just kind of very mediocre.
Well, the defense can be a lot more productive if they can get some takeaways. I mean, any defense can. If you're going to be giving up a lot of yards, if you get a few takeaways here and there, that really helps. That galvanizes the defense. It keeps them kind of motivated, and it gets the offense back on the field and gives the defense a breather. So in this one, you had the scoop and score, and then you had the interception by Callahan O'Reilly. That really helps. That helps the defense. So if you're going to be a defense that's giving up chunk plays here and there, you got to have some turnovers.
Yeah. Well, other than that, it was a weird game. It's like a complete blowout. Cal Poly, I really feel like I've seen a team give up as Cal Poly did. Like, honestly, Ryan, we could have put up 100 if we really wanted to. Like at one point, we were not giving Marquis the ball just to not give Marquis the ball. We were just trying to do some passing stuff. And like we could just handed it off literally almost every time. Marquis could have had 400 yards by himself.
Yeah.
They could not tackle him. It was weird.
No.
So throw out the window. It's good to get the 9th win on the season. No matter what, I think Montana State goes into the playoffs with the seed now. It's good stuff, man. I mean, it's still a Division I win. It's just a weird win. And I don't know necessarily if here's a good question for you, Thorny. Would you rather have something like this prior to the Cat Grizz, or would you rather have something where you're tested and you come out on top?
It's a really good question. I don't have a good answer for that. My gut reaction says this, but I'm not sure that's correct.
All right, man. Well, I think that's all I have on Cal Poly.
I mean, the game, basically, you got what you wanted to get. You got a lot of guys playing time. You worked on a few things. Maybe they didn't work out, but you got to kind of tinker with some stuff with no actual consequence because Cal Poly wasn't going to put up any sort of fight. But other than that, I don't really know what you learned from this kind of a game. But it is what it is. It's out of the way. We're healthy. Backup's got some playing time. That's all you can really ask for heading into Cat Grizz. Both teams on an absolute tear right now, at least in their last game. Grizz 2 games in a row. We had a little bit more of a struggle in our previous game, but it's going to be a big showdown, man. College game day is going to be in town. I'm really excited to talk about that one on Monday. But is there anything else you want to talk about on this Cal Poly game, or anything else game day, anything else in general before we kind of end this episode?
There's only one other thing I thought I should mention, and that was David Alston went out with a knee injury. And
yes.
It sucks. Like he was actually coming on and like making some big strides, and to see that happen, it's just, I really feel for the guy. So I don't know the severity of it. I think Ashley Washburn mentioned online or on the air that it could be kind of serious. And so, but I don't know, fingers crossed that he could maybe not make it back for Cat Grizz, but heal up on the bye week and then be able to make it back for our first playoff game.
Yeah. I did say there was no injuries because I, didn't watch and I forgot about that one. So thank you for correcting me. David Alston did go out. Other than that, healthy, right? Question mark. Aside from the guys who weren't there to begin with, like, Brody Grebe, now David Alston are out. That's not ideal. But Kenny Iden had a really good game against Cal Poly. So good to get him some reps because he's going to be relied upon moving forward.
I saw Sean Chambers with his clothes on. I mean, his pads on.
Yeah, no, he was. He had his helmet on. He was warming up. He's throwing the ball around. I was expecting him to come in the game. Honestly, like it was good to get Sean Austin some reps, but those should have been at least one series should have been Sean Chambers. Although that's not really. I mean, that's not really good for Cal Poly. Like you can't bring a guy in who's like just as good as Tommy Watt and then pummel Cal Poly some more. But he needed to get some shake some rust off before Cat Grizz though. So I would have liked to seen him at least get a series or two. Even if it was first half scripted something, like I would have liked to seen him get something, but maybe it's just that banged up and they just really wanted to keep healing him and not risk a fluke injury for Sean Chambers.
We played Sean Austin from the start of the second half.
Yeah.
There was no starters in. I mean, quarterback wise, but.
Well, look what happened in Missoula. I think the Grizz were, it was still in the second quarter, but that was like 48-0 or whatever. And that's when Lucas Johnson got hurt. You don't typically pull your starters out in the second quarter. I get it, but it's not a great look when you're up by 40-some points and your starting quarterback gets knocked out of the game. So that could have happened. So good to see. And that's what you do when you're up, when the game's in hand, get your guys out.
Yeah.
Get your back out of there. Well, thanks again to everyone who purchased a sweepstakes ticket to the Cat Grizz. It's going to be more exciting for you now because you're going to have tickets to the big show, College Game Day. So you will be able to be around for that. And thanks to Manhattan Bank for being our dank sponsor for this year. You can always find us on Twitter, our CatCast. Check us out on the web, catcast.com. Look forward to some good Cat Grizz content this week. This one's out of the way fully. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.